All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Let's begin our session. So this is we were discussing about the service called Relational Database Service, RDS service in AWS. And we have seen some brief introduction about this relational database service. Let's understand. So by the name itself, we can understand it, right? Easily, like it is this is a database service, but it is a relational database. Relational in the sense, if we were storing data in the form of tables, data is being stored in the form of tables. Usually, we will be calling it as relational databases. And there, how actually we will be storing the data? Table in the sense like rows and columns. And we have given like some example. The structure of the database will be like in the form of rows and columns. Excel sheet is an example to understand. Okay, we can consider Excel sheet and we can easily understand like how actually the data will be stored. This is how the database structure will be. And these are the database types we have: SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle. Okay, these are the various kinds of database types we have in RDS service. Based on the requirement, we can go ahead and we can create a database for the developers. So usually, if the requirement from the application team, okay, the application team requires the database. So usually, if they ask us to create the infrastructure, if they ask us to create this particular database, any kind of database, any kind of relational database in the AWS cloud, then we have these category. We have these various types: Postgres, Aurora, MySQL, Oracle. These are the various types of databases available, relational databases available. We can go ahead and create any of the database. We already understood about backups. Backups are very much important because even if the database gets crashed, so we can retain the database with the help of backup. So in RDS, we have two types of backups. One is automated backups and the other one is DB snapshots, DB snapshots. The difference between them is automated backup means like we are not going to involve there or there to take the backups. Okay. So automatically AWS will take daily snapshot. Okay. Automated in an automated way. So these automated backups are the backups where it will take the backup. Every day the backup will be stored. Okay, every day it will take the backup, full day backup, and we can use that backup to restore the database in case if the database get crashes or something happens. DB snapshots are the manual backups we involve, and we will be taking the backups. These are the two different types of backups we are having: automated and manual. Manual backups are nothing but DB snapshots. Okay. And we have also understood like how we are going to usually what is the purpose of backup, and we understood, right? Backup is mainly for restoring the database. Suppose in case why we are using these automated backups or manual snapshots, why we are talking about them. In case if the database crashes, then usually we will be recovering the database with the help of those backups only. That's the reason why we are using, we have the concept of backups. And here in the RDS service, we also have another feature, additional feature called multi-agent. Multi-AZ. Multi-AZ stands for multi-availability zones. So while configuring the database itself, we can enable this multi-agent feature. If we enable the multi-agent feature, usually our database will be replicated in some other region also. Our database will be replicated into other region also. In the diagram, you can see very clearly that US East 1A is the database we have. And if we enable multi-AZ option, then definitely the database will also be replicated to another region called another availability zone, not region. Why? Because US East itself is the region. We know about the regions and availability zones, right? We understood. For example, Mumbai. Mumbai is the region. Mumbai is the region. In AWS is having its infrastructure in Mumbai region. AWS is having its infrastructure in Hyderabad. AWS is having its infrastructure in US East 1, US West 1. Those are the regions. Again, in the Mumbai, we will be having some availability zones. Sorry. What is the region code for Mumbai? You remember? Why? Because it is familiar. We are familiar with Mumbai region, right? Usually in the from the last previous sessions, like we will
P
be
South Zone something. Yeah.
AP South, AP,
One,
yeah,
two, three. Yes.
AP South 1 is the availability. AP South 1 is the region, and the zone names will be like AP South 1A, 1B, 1C. This is how the zones names will be. Okay, so if you assume, like if you want to assume that like what is an availability zone, it is nothing but a separate building. Okay, you assume that in Mumbai, AWS is maintaining its infrastructure. You can assume that there are some three buildings, okay, where in all the three buildings, it's having its infrastructure. So they are naming one building as 1A, another building as 1B, another building as 1C. Like that also we can assume. They are nothing but zones. So we cannot say that all the buildings are at one place. Maybe one is some 10 kilometers away from the other, like that. So all the three availability zones will be there. Infrastructure will be maintained in all the availability zones, in all the buildings. They are called as availability zone. So if I configure multi-agent option, what happens is our database will be replicated. Okay, the same infra I'm creating, that will be replicated to US East 1B. So what is the advantage here is, in case if this region failure occurs, US East 1A availability zone failure occurs, if there is some issue with this availability zone, then the calls will be whatever the traffic, okay, whatever the traffic that is coming to US East 1A availability zone. So that will be reached out to the US East 1B. Okay. So not only the region failure occurs, suppose if in case if you are doing some database maintenance in the US East 1A, that time we can divert the calls to the US East 1B. And once it is restored back, okay, once it is available, then it is ready to take up the calls. So these are the scenarios where where we will enable the multi-agent option. Remember, AWS will not provide us anything for free of cost. Okay. So these are the additional advantages we have. If you enable anything, definitely that will be charged. Okay. Definitely that will be charged by AWS. So before you enable any particular option, make sure that how much you will be charged. We have a pricing calculator. You can go to the AWS pricing calculator and you can see how they are charging for each and everything. Okay. And they'll be providing documentation also. You can go through the documentation and see how much they will be charging for if you enable this multi-agent option, all these things. So that is the advantage of having multiple multi-agent. We also have a read replica. Let's understand what is this read replicas here. So you can see here we have, consider we have a production database. Okay. Consider we have a production database. And let's understand what is meant by read replica. So you can see here, right, whatever the orange color ones, okay? In this particular diagram, we are looking at, we have some orange color ones and blue color ones, right? You can assume that whatever the orange color ones we have, they are the production databases, okay? They are the production databases. So usually whenever the request comes from the outside to access the data, so the request will be sent to a particular database and the request will be processed. That is fine. So let's understand what is this blue color ones here. Before we understand, before we understand the read replica concept, we need to understand some example. Okay, let's take an example so that we will easily understand what is actually a read replica. Okay, this example will make you understand what is read replica. For example, you can take like these are the consider this is the production. These are the production databases we have. Okay. Maybe these are the replicas we are having. Okay, these are the replicas we are having. Assume that we have some replica in US East 1, okay, US East 1A, 1B, or 1C, like that. We have some replicas. And if you take some banking example, okay, let's go to let's take an example of banking transactions. Usually, what happens is we will be performing read operations as well as write operations, right? Do you know what is the difference between a read operation and write operation? For example, I want to check my account balance. Okay, let's understand. I would like to check my account balance. So for that, what I am doing is, so I am in, I am checking my balance. Okay, I have multiple options today. If I want to check my account balance, I have multiple options today. Like I can open my internet banking or otherwise. Assume an example like we have an ATM. There we are inserting our ATM card and we are entering our PIN number and we are just looking at our checking our account balance. We can do it that way, right? So if I want to perform any transactions also, we have multiple ways. Either we can go to the bank or otherwise we can open our internet banking for making any transaction and all. So let's take this banking example. Uh, you will understand what is read replicas. Okay, what are read replicas in a detailed way. So for example, if I would like, we need to understand like what is read operation and write operation in this banking example. Okay, banking transactions. If I'm checking my balance, okay, if the balance inquiry, consider the balance, if I'm doing some balance inquiry and all, tell me whether it will be considered as a read operation or write operation. I'm just going there, okay, inserting my ATM card and I'm trying to see how much balance my account is having. So will it be a read operation or write operation? So whatever the data it will be displaying, okay, if my account is having some balance, it will be displayed on that screen, right? Sorry. From where the data will be fetched? From where the data will be fetched? Obviously, the data will be fetched from database only, right? So tell me whether it is a kind of read operation or write operation. I'm not doing any transaction. I'm just doing a balance inquiry of my account, balance inquiry in my account. Whether it comes under a read operation or write operation. Getting my question? I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to see how much balance my account is having. So if I enter my PIN number, I assume that I am in the ATM and I am inserting my card and I'm trying to check my balance. Tell me whether it comes under a read operation or write operation. It fetches data, okay? You are just asking to see how much balance your account is having so that you'll get data from the database. You'll get data from the database. It will display how much balance your account is having. This will be a read operation. What is write operation? Suppose if I perform some transaction, consider if I'm performing some transaction, like I'm going to withdraw some amount from the account. So once I withdraw some amount from the bank, from the account, so it will be considered as read operation or write operation. Are you getting my question? Can you hear me, Chandrakant? Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is, usually if we perform any transaction, like withdrawing an amount from the bank or whatever you do, I assume that this is an example, okay? Withdrawing an amount from the bank, okay, will be definitely an write operation. Why? Because consider your account is having some 10,000 and if you have withdrawn some 2,000 rupees, so your account will be shown as, definitely your account will be showing as, your account balance will be showing as some 8,000, right? So how it is showing as 8,000? So it has to perform some write operation. In the database, you need to understand that this particular operation will be a write operation. What is read operation? Whatever the amount that you have, it will be just displaying on the screen. So we'll be considering the transaction as read operation. Hope you understood the difference between read operation and write operation in the database. Okay. So we have two kinds of operations usually we perform in the database, read and write. Read in the sense whatever the data we have, just we will fetch the data. Okay, that will be considered as, we'll fetch the data, will be considering as read operation. And if I perform any transaction, if I withdraw any amount from the from my account, anything if I perform, so that will be considered as write operation. So usually what happens is like we are managing, okay, how we are managing the databases, you can understand this diagram. There are some read replicas. The purpose of read replicas is whatever the requests that are coming to the database. Okay, whatever the requests that are coming to the database, usually most of the requests will be read operations only. Consider we have a production database. Assume that it is getting many more requests. Okay, some of the requests are to perform read operation, and some of the requests are to perform write operation. So if all the requests has to handle by the same database, then definitely the database will be loaded. Once the database is heavily loaded, and there are chances to get crashed. So if there is an interaction, that will be fine. Chandrakant, are you there? Can you hear me? I don't know. Chandrakant. Okay, maybe he's busy. No problem. So, okay. What I'm trying to say is usually the database will be getting a read request. The database will be getting requests for performing the read operations as well as write operations. Okay. So I'm going to tell you another example. Let's see here. We have a database. Consider this is a database, and this particular database will be getting some requests. Okay. So how the request will be like, one request is coming to read the data, to get the data, okay, to perform read operation. Another request is coming to perform the write operation. Okay, like that. So this production database will handles all the read operations, okay, will handles the read operations as well as write operations. So if it gets more number of read requests as well as write requests, then definitely the database will be heavily loaded, and there are chances to get crashed. So that should not happen. For that, what we are doing is we are creating read replicas. Okay, we are creating read replicas. Read replica is nothing but like we are just creating a replica of the database, same database. We are just creating the replica of same database, and we are diverting read requests. Okay, if anyone wants to read the data, if any request is coming only to read the data, existing data, then those requests will be diverted to the read. Those requests will be diverted to this particular replica. So the main production database, okay, the main production database will be handling the write operations. If there are any read requests, those read requests will be diverted to the replica. Okay. In this example, we have two databases. Okay, one is production database, the other one is read replica. Which one is the production database? This is the production database. Assume that this one is the production database. Okay. I'm just taking an example. This is the production database. This production database can able to handle read operations as well as write operations. If it gets more, usually based on their research, based on some research, what actually they found is databases are heavily loaded, okay, with the read requests than write requests. Most of the people used to check the balance inquiries, or most of the people wanted to perform some read operation, fetch the data, existing data. So if there are any kind of read operations, we are just diverting the load to the replica. This is the read replica. Okay. This replica will perform only write operation. If there is any write operation, this read replica cannot handle. You understood, right? If there is any write operation, this read replica cannot handle. If there is any read request, only those read requests can be diverted to the read replicas. That's how we are managing the production database. You can look at here in this diagram very clearly. It is mentioned. We have orange color ones. Consider these are the production databases, and we have some blue color ones. These are the read replicas. So read replicas allows us to have the read-only copy of our production database. The read-only replicas are nothing but the replicas of our production database. They will also handle the traffic. But what kind of traffic they will handle? Only read request will handle by the read replicas. If someone wants to check the balance, okay, they are not going to perform any write operation. They will perform only read operation, right? So those kind of requests will be diverted to these read replicas. And if anyone wanted to perform some write operation, so those write operations will be performed by the production database only. Read operations will be handled by read replicas. By the name itself, right, we can understand. Read replicas. These replicas were created only to handle the load of read requests. Okay. So how many read replicas we can create? You can see here, we can have up to 5 read replica copies of any database. If I have some production database, we can maintain some 5 read replica copies. Okay. And also we can also have the read replicas of read replicas. Okay, we can also maintain. You see, these blue color ones, these 3 blue color ones are read replicas. And again, we can also have the read replicas. We can also have read replicas of read replicas, but latency will be there. We'll discuss about that. Try to understand now how many read replicas we can maintain. We can maintain some 5 read replicas of any of the database. So let's see here. I'm just going into the AWS cloud. Okay, RDS service. Just moving ahead into the RDS service. Just go to RDS. Amazon RDS. Can you see here? This is an Amazon RDS service. This is how the dashboard looks like. Amazon RDS. This is how the dashboard looks like. When I just click on databases, I'm not finding any databases here. I just want to create a database. Usually in the on-premises, okay, in the on-prem, like if I want to create a database, I need a server, and I will install the database over there. I need to make many configurations. We need to do many things. Okay, we need to do lots of things. But here everything is ready. You just need to go ahead and create your database. So what we are doing is, I am just searching here in the AWS cloud. I am searching for RDS. RDS stands for Relational Database Service. Just go ahead and say this is how the dashboard looks like. We have the databases. Just click on the databases, create a database, and it's asking whether you want to create a standard create or easy create. So standard create in the sense, actually we need to configure all the options. Easy create means by default it will suggest, okay, by default it will suggest the configurations. We don't need to select anything. You see, when I'm selecting standard, usually we have multiple options. Easy in the sense it will recommend the best practice configuration. It will recommend the best practice configuration. Some configuration options can be changed once the database is created also. Okay. So I'm just going for standard create. Let's see how we are going to configure database. If you want to create a MySQL database, just click on MySQL. Or if you want to create an Oracle, just click on Oracle. Based on the database requirement, we will be selecting the MySQL, Oracle, or Postgres, whatever it is. For example, if I select MySQL, just come down. You can select the version also. What MySQL version you require. We'll select MySQL versions. We have different versions here. By default, it is suggesting some version. If you want, you can customize the version also. And when we come here, it is asking, okay, we are doing, we are selecting what kind of database we require and what is the version number we require. And we are selecting like what is your use case. Okay. So whether you are going to use this database for the dev or test environments or for the production environment. So this instance is intended for development use. outside of a production environment. When I select this dev or test, this is for development environment. Okay, what is the difference between these two here? You can see this is for high availability and the cost, okay, the price they are charging for the production will be high. If you select that this is for production, definitely for production, there should be some high availability, fast, consistent performance. But for the development and test environments, okay, for development and test environments, we don't need that kind of high availability and performance. That's why we can go with the dev or test usually. For now, we are working on a free tier. Okay, we are just practicing. If you want to test something, you can go. Otherwise, if you are trying for some hands-on experience, if we are trying for some hands-on experience or to test some existing applications, definitely we'll go for free tier. And you see, whenever I'm selecting free tier, this availability and the durability option, this is not enabling. Okay, when you select dev or test, this multi-AZ option, I told you, right? There is an option called multi-AZ. Multi-AZ stands for multiple availability zones. Okay, when you select multi-AZ, it will create a DB cluster. It will create a DB cluster. One machine, one node will be in different availability zones. You know, right? Suppose it will create one instance. It will create DB cluster in the sense what? Cluster is nothing but a group of machines. Okay, remember always if I use the term cluster, cluster is nothing but a group of machines, collection of machines. It can be a 2 machine, 3 machine, or something like that. So clearly, they are clearly mentioning that multi-AZ DB cluster. If I select multi-AZ DB cluster, so what actually it is, we are going to create a DB cluster with a primary database and two readable standby instances. Two readable standby database instances. Okay. So try to understand what is the purpose of this multi-AZ. One will be there, one primary database. Okay. We will be getting one primary database and two will be standby. Two will be standby. And if I select this multi-AZ DB instance, there are two things: multi-AZ cluster, multi-AZ database instance, single DB instance. We are going to get single DB instance with no standby. We are going to get primary database instance, one database instance, and other standby instance in a different availability zones. Here, one primary instance and two standby instances. Two standby instances. Okay. So cluster means group of machines. Here, we will get one primary instance and the other one is standby. In different availability zones, we'll get. So these are the different options we are having. Whenever I select dev or test or production, then only that time only these options, these deployment options are available. If I'm going with free tier, these are not enabled. Okay. For free tier, this is not enabled. Okay. I'm just going with free tier. You can provide the database name. It is asking to set up the username and password for the database, master username, admin, self-managed. I want to create my own password. I'm just giving the password as admin123, something like that. Admin12345. Okay. Me give admin@12345. Okay. Here also I'm just confirming it is not 8. Okay. There is some constraint for the password. So the password is at least 8 printable ASCII characters, cannot contain all these symbols. Okay. All the ASCII characters must be there. Okay, at least 8. Here also I'm giving same thing, admin@12345. Okay, this is the password I'm giving and I'm going for instance configuration. Okay, so we are selecting, I need usually if I go for this, if I'm going for this free tier, okay, we'll be getting some, right? If I'm going for some dev or test, this multi-agent option is being enabled. Multi-agent option is being enabled. If I go for free tier, we are not, this particular option is not enabled. Okay, well, multi-agent option is not enabled for free tier. So we have set up the password and we are going for DB instance configuration. So what is the type of instance that you require? Here you can select. Okay. For free tier, only few things are available. We need to select from that only. Here we have db.t3.micro, t4.micro. Here also we'll be getting 2 CPUs and 1 GB RAM. Here also we'll be getting 2 CPUs and 1 GB RAM. You can select any one. I'm selecting something like, okay, anyone you can select. Okay. We have two configurations. db.t4g.micro, db.t4, t3.micro. Two things are available. You can select any one. Storage it is asking. Okay, we have different types of storage devices, general purpose. Okay, there are different types of storage devices, general purpose, provisioned, magnetic. We are going with general purpose. Allocated storage is 20. So we are selecting the configuration of the machine, storage of the machine. Okay. Then connectivity. How we are going to connect to the instance. Okay, don't connect to an EC2 compute resource, connect to the EC2, whichever option you select. If you want to connect to the machine, yes, you can select. Okay, whatever the instance, whatever the DB instance that is being created, right? So that DB instance, if you select, you can select option here. If you want to connect to that instance, yes, you can connect to the set up an EC2 we can set up a connection to the EC2 instance for this database. Okay, if you don't want to do that, you can also set up a connection later also. But for now, we have multiple options here. If you want to connect, you can select this one. If you don't want to connect, you can click. Okay. So for now, if I'm selecting this one, connect to an EC2 compute resource. So we need to provide this is no EC2 instances we are having. Okay, we are not giving any, we are not attaching any EC2 instance. For now, I am selecting don't connect to anyone. I'm selecting this one, don't connect to EC2 instance only. So, and here we need to select our VPC, in which VPC you want to create our database, all these things. And I'm going in ahead. By default, these options will be considering. I'm just going ahead and taking, I'm just creating this database. That's it. VPC options and all we know, right? If you want to create a database in your existing data, in your VPC, in our own VPC, we can create it. Otherwise, we can also create a default. Okay. Usually, how we will do, we will create our own VPCs, right? Within our own VPCs, we will be creating our machines. So database will be getting created. Okay. Once the database gets created, we can see before that. Okay. It will take some time usually. Okay. Database is getting created. We are not doing anything. We are selecting multiple configuration options and we are creating the database. That's it. It is asking what kind of database you require, what kind of machine configuration you require, all these things. We are setting up the password, all these things over there, and we are creating the database here. Very simple, right? So you can understand here on the left navigation, you can also see other things like snapshots. Can you see here? Once the database is created, we can see, okay, even the database for creating the database, for this instance creation, it will take some time. But the meanwhile, you can see here on the left navigation, we have multiple options like databases. We can see the list of databases we created. You can also see here snapshots. I told you there are two types of backups. One is automated backup. The other one is DB snapshots, manual snapshots. So I'm just clicking on snapshots. You can see here, these are the manual ones. Manually, we can take the snapshot every day or every 2 days, every 3 days. We can take the backup. Whatever the backups we take, they will be called as snapshots. These automated backups. Every day by default, the database will be backed up automatically. Okay. We don't need to do anything. Automated backups every day for every 24 hours. Okay. Every day at some time it will take the backup. Okay. So backups will be available here. Automated backups. Here. Okay, you can see there the left navigation, whatever the things I told you, right? Snapshots will be there, automated backups. We have snapshots, we have automated backups, and you see here, this is a query editor. We can select the query editor. For now, we don't have any database. Okay. For now, we don't have any database. You can see here. Currently, query editor only supports Aurora serverless databases. Okay. This query editor will be supported by Aurora serverless databases. Like that, we have multiple options on the left navigation. Once it is created, then we can see the configuration. When you see here, this database is being created. What is the name of the database? MySQL is the database. In which region it is being created? In which region it is being created? AP South 1A. The size of the database is db.t3.micro. Clearly, it is showing in which VPC it is configured. Whether we have enabled multi-agent option or not. We don't have multi-agent option for free tier. Usually, we will not create this one. We will be going for dev or test or production database. If you select dev or test or production, you will be seeing multiple options like read, multi-agent option, multiple availability zones. So database will be created in other region also, in other availability zone also for the backup purpose as a standby database. Any questions so far? You can see the database is successfully created. Okay, we have successfully created. You see what uh, refreshing it. I'm just refreshing it. Show you the database is created successfully. If you want to take the snapshot, you can create a snapshot. I'm going to the snapshots. Just click on take snapshot. Okay. We need to select a database. You see, for now, still it is getting created. It will take some time to show you the database. How we are taking the snapshot. To take the snapshot, we need to choose the database and we need to provide some name to your snapshot. Okay. And it is clearly saying that you don't have any available database for now because still one database is getting created. Once the database is available, you can take the snapshots. Just go to the database, refresh it. It will take some time. Okay, the status, it will take some time. Once it is available, once the status is showing like available, you can go to the snapshots. You can take the snapshot. Okay, it will, if you are taking the snapshot, definitely it will show the list of databases. You need to select the database and you need to take the snapshot. At the same time, in the same way, we can also go for automated backups. Automated backups. So how to take, how to automated backups, you can see here. You don't need to do anything. We are not doing anything in the automated backups. By default, automatically everyday backup will be generated and stored here. Every day the backup will be stored here. And you can see the latest restorable, earliest, you can see the time also when it got, when did the backup, when did the automated backup stored, okay, automated backup has generated, all these things you can see here. Yes. Now you can see the database is available, right? You can select the database. You can do it. Yes, snapshot. Go to the snapshot. Take a snapshot. It is asking, right, to take the snapshots. It is showing the list of databases. For now, I have only one database, which is called database one. Usually, you can provide some name here while creating the database instance itself. For now, we have only one database. We don't have any clusters. You see, there is no cluster. We have only one database. I'm going to take the snapshot. This is my snapshot, my DB snapshot. Okay, you can provide some name. My DB snapshot something. Just click on take snapshot. That's it. Your database, your snapshot will be created. You know the purpose of snapshots, right? Okay, you know the purpose of snapshots. Snapshot is nothing but a backup. The database gets crashed. We can restore the database with the help of this snapshot only. Don't need to worry about it. Okay. So manual, if you delete the database, all the automated backups, if you intentionally delete the database, suppose if you intentionally delete the database, all the automated backups will also be deleted. If you intentionally delete, for example, I have a database. This is the database instance. Okay. I'm refreshing it to see. It is backing up. Okay. The status you see that is taking backup. Someone is taking the backup. I just created a snapshot, right? So backing up. Earlier also we were see once the instance is created, it has shown like backing up. And when I'm going here to the automated backups, I can see clearly this is the backup that I am having. When the backup is created, can we see the time? Can we see the time when the backup is created? The backup is created here. The backup is created today only at 10:02 sometime. Okay. The backup is created at 10:02. So this is an automated backup. I didn't do anything for this backup. Okay. But when we go to the snapshot, this is my snapshot, manual snapshot. We can take manual snapshots here. Okay. This is how I have taken a snapshot. For now, it is still in progress. It is not allowing to take any other snapshot. It will take some time. So that's the reason why you can see the status of the database here. The database status of the database is backing up. You know the meaning of backing up? It is creating some backup for the database. That's the reason why it is showing the status as backing up. I'm creating the manual snapshot. What I'm trying to say is if you intentionally delete the database, if I am going to delete this database intentionally, if I am going to delete the database intentionally, you have an option here. Okay. You have by default, the automated backups will also be deleted. If you want to have the automated backups, unselect this option. Okay. Retain, we are selecting retain automated backups. We have an option here to retain the automated backups. You can select this one. If you select this one, so your automated backups will also be there. And you see, whenever we are deleting the database, what are the things it is asking? Deleting the database is nothing but permanently deleting. You are going to permanently delete. We are not going to undo this action. We can't undo this action. Okay. We are going to permanently delete, and this cannot be like we cannot get again this. We cannot get the same instance again. We are going to have the snapshot. You see, create final snapshot. While deleting the database, again, we have an option here. Final database snapshot will be created with this. If you check this option, if you unselect, it won't create any snapshot. Okay. While deleting the database, we have an option here to take the final snapshot. You can provide the final snapshot name. Okay. You can retain the automated backups. Whatever the automated backups are there, we can retain the automated backups. And then you can confirm the delete. You can confirm the message and you can delete it. This is how we are creating the database and we are deleting the database. Got it? This is how actually we are creating the databases and we are deleting the databases. We are taking the automated backups and manual backups, all these things. Any questions you have, we'll discuss. Otherwise, let's continue in the next session. Hope you understood how we are creating the database. Basically, what are snapshots, what are automated backups, how we are going to delete this. While deleting this one, we have an option to take the final snapshot. We can also retain automated backups. Then we can delete it. With the help of backup, we can restore. If I have the snapshot, you know, right? You have the snapshot. How can we retain this? Select the snapshot. Go to the actions. Okay. We can export. You see here, we have an option to export to the Amazon S3. What is Amazon S3? What is Amazon S3? Where we are going to store these backups. If you don't want to store these backups here, you can export these backups to simple storage services. Click on export to S3. Then it is asking some options here. the bucket name. Okay, it is going to create. You can give some bucket name here. Okay, S3 destination. You can create a bucket. Previously itself, before itself, you need to create a bucket, and you need to provide the bucket name. And then if you click on export, whatever the snapshots we have here, we can export all the snapshots to the Amazon S3. We can export the snapshots to the S3. These are the options we are having. If you have any questions, let's discuss. Otherwise, we'll be continuing in the next session. Thank you.